which is what? The objectives or the goals of the organization. And then the other aspect of what we might see is implementation of policies and regulations, regulatory compliance. It's going to be a huge challenge. And I say that because recently, I don't know if if we're how familiar we are with the genetic engineering, where they're able to edit human DNA. There was a new technology called CRISPR technology that was recently discovered by some researchers in the University of Berkeley. And they created this technology called CRISPR that could help you identify, edit a specific gene or edit a group of genes, right? And, that could have a very fundamental change um, in the world as we know it today. But one of the things too that happened was that another researcher in China took that technology, that CRISPR technology, and used it in editing a human embryo and returned that embryo to the mother. Because in this scenario, the father the father of the child, the children that came out of that birth had HIV. And as a result, edited their genes so that the babies don't contact HIV through birth. But what becomes the ethical standard behind that? What becomes the regulatory and policy compliance behind that? Were we even prepared for that level of technology when it was introduced? And were regulators able to even quickly come up together with the problems we have, both economic, political, social problems today, and this whole race to be a technology leader in the world, it's making it harder for companies to cooperate and come up with standardized policies and regulations to really clamp down on some of these innovations that are springing up left, right, and center. So it becomes very challenging for regulators. So what we might see start happening is that incremental approach, where we're amending specific areas in policies and regulations to just fit any kind of technology that springs up, because there are so many of them springing up, and it becomes harder to regulate things as we go along. And that forces also, I think, and I've been thinking about this, there's an article that is on the horizon from me that I'm currently working on, and it talks about ethics by design. When we're building these solutions and getting very innovative, it's always that excitement about creating something new. But we also need to start thinking of taking a step back to really understand, from an ethical standpoint, what is the implication of what we're doing? How does it impact people across the world? Because solutions that you may build in one single instance, it doesn't matter where you are, could have an impact on your immediate community, your immediate society, and the world at large, i.e. the CRISPR technology that was developed here in the US. But as far as it was developed here in the US, somebody mimicked that technology and you leveraged it for a completely different purpose in another place. And simply because there are no standards, there are no regulations, and what you might consider ethic or ethical today may mean something else for somebody else in a different place. So how do we reconcile all those things? How do we start thinking ethically when we design and build solutions? So it becomes something that you hold yourself accountable for the solutions you build. You hold yourself accountable that I am taking it upon myself to think in an ethical way. How do I integrate ethics into the design of this product or this service that we're looking to build? And that becomes a fundamental challenge. And then in the last, but not the least aspect of it is that iterative and incremental learning. I always tell some of my my students who take our trainings that we've gotten to a point on where it becomes harder for us to sit down and study for 2, 3 hours. First, you have a job, you have probably a family, you have other engagements. There are so many distractions. There's so much information to consume. So it becomes very pertinent from when it comes to a learning standpoint, to be very, very tailored with your learning and very specific. So you're no longer looking at covering ground when you learn, or how much output, how many chapters of the book you've read, but is what specifically have you learned from what you've read. So I encourage this whole idea of put an hour every day into reading, and don't always limit your reading to things that are all around Agile, Scrum. Broaden your horizon. Pick an article in medical, in something in hotel management, or something in movies. Just read something, learn one thing. If you're spending an hour every day studying, it means that you're spending 7 hours in a whole week, because there are 7 days that make a week. That means 28 hours of learning time in 4 weeks that make a month. That's a lot of hours. If you aggregate that over a period of 10 months to 1 year, you're looking at over 300 hours of reading time. With 3 hours, um, over 300 hours of learning time or study time in a whole year, you would have acquired a lot of knowledge that would help you. And not only have you acquired a lot of knowledge, but specific tailored knowledge to the areas and things you think you should be focusing on, whether it's to help your career, whether it's to help your person, or whether it's to help the organization that you're working. And these, in summary, I think are very fundamental roles I think Agile will play in the future of innovation. Whether we talk about it from a personal standpoint, an organizational standpoint, a work standpoint, policy making standpoint, a team standpoint, or whether we're just looking at innovation as a whole. Agility is the future. It's going to talk to us more around the stability of things and how we balance flexibility and stability to really drive and achieve results.